Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Virendra Kumar Yadav, Manager, National Liver Disease BioBank. And this webinar is organized by the BioBank India Foundation and National Liver Disease BioBank together. And our speaker is Dr. Vaine. And Dr. Vaine is the General Manager for the Victorian Cancer BioBank Consortium, where he oversees the biobanking operation and leads the strategic planning of Australia's largest open access cancer biobank. As a committee member for the Australian Biospecimen Network Association, that is also called ABNA, and internationally as the Indo-Pacific Rim regional ambassador for the International Society of Biological and Environmental Repository, that is ISPR, which is the largest society for biobanking in the world. And most of biobank is following the best practices of this organization. Dr. Vaine is an active member in the ISPR, and he provides biobanking expertise to most prominent Australian and global forum for the biobanking community. He has a PhD in cancer molecular pathology from Western Sydney University, and in the biobanking, he has more than 12-year experience. Dr. Vaine, please.
Thanks, Virendra. Thanks for the very kind introductions of myself, and also thank you for really inviting me to speak to the audience today. Thank you. I would like to apologize for the content today that can be quite focused to the Victorian Cancer Biobank as an example of the topics for the Network Cancer Biobank and the importance of cancer. Because yeah, that's pretty much using a lot of the examples, so bear with me on that. So I would go to an overview, provide a bit of an overview of what my talk is about today. It's the introductions about Victorian Cancer Biobank, where we are and what we do, then followed by using that as an example to explain the importance of Networks Biobank to the cancer research community and also to the hopefully improve the cancer outcomes in the future. Then follow on with using a few case studies that are part of the projects that the Victorian Cancer Biobank supported to show you what the sort of to really demonstrate the importance of that network biobank. So before I go into details of what Victorian Cancer Biobank is, obviously it's good to introduce about where we are and where basically the Melbourne in Australia. So this is the Victorian Cancer Biobank is centralized in Melbourne. Melbourne is the capital city of Victoria, and it is Australia's second largest city. So followed by obviously Sydney is always well known for that. So comparing to Sydney, maybe Melbourne did not have as many landmarks or opera house or that sort of places for people to remember, but whoever who has been to Melbourne will always find that the culture, the way how we live here, the lifestyle has been voted as one of the most livable city in the world because of the way how we live. So we're very, as you can see from the photos, we're very proud of our cultural diversity. So, and also our coffee. So for Melbournians, whenever we travel overseas or anywhere else, we will always find it difficult to find a nice coffee. So because we do love our coffee a lot. And that cultural diversity that we have here enable us to have a lot of nice food and that fusion cuisine that we have. Melbourne is also very famous for the laneway culture. You can see a lot of street art around, small alleys and also hidden bars and restaurants that you will never find if you just walk past without realizing that. Sports-wise, we are also quite famous. We have a few stadiums that are offering for different sports for like Australians Opens, Melbourne Cricket's ground, and Grand Prix as well. We do have one of the largest tram network, and according to Google, so you know a lot of our public transports within the city network is actually through tram. So on top of that, relating to the topic today, Melbourne is also, or both Melbourne and the state Victoria, is home to probably about 60% of the biotechnology hubs, and also the healthcare innovations hub in this space. One of the good examples is the CSL, which is the Australian pride biotech company. The headquarters is based in Melbourne as well. So that links to next about the Victorian Cancer Biobank. So we are, and we're sort of one of that, you know, Melbourne's pride of, you know, being very collaborative and supporting research infrastructure to the research community, especially in cancer space. The Victorian Cancer Biobank is not just one single biobank. We are actually a consortium. So our mission is to collect, manage, and provide high-quality biospecimens, data, and services through a collaborative network of biobanks, and to promote open access for researchers globally to improve cancer outcome. Up to date, since the inceptions in 2006, we have recruited more than 31,000 donors, amassing of near to 500,000 of specimens being collected over the years. These are mainly from the surgical theaters or pathology labs. We are also quite proud to announce that we have now been certified by a Canadian quality assurance program to demonstrate that, you know, our work and our products are actually, you know, on the top notch of the quality, to ensure that the research can use that confidently. A bit of an landscape of where we are. So as I mentioned, so we are a network, so we're scattering around across Victoria or metropolitan Melbourne. So we have 5 biobanks that we partner with, and Cancer Council Victoria is the lead agencies to lead over the whole collaborations, and I'm based at the Cancer Council Victoria. So as you can see, the red sort of marks are mainly the biobank sites, and then you have the blues that are those satellite hospitals that we do have capabilities to bank specimens as well. But of course, the main activities are going to be based at 5 partners. Okay. I don't think I need to go through much about our products. So in general sense, we bank mainly on tissues that, you know, in different formats for different purpose that, you know, quite standard. Similarly, the bloods are going to be the same for different purposes. Because I don't have to emphasize that how important clinical data that's associated with the biospecimens, so they're really important for any downstream analysis to match up with the downstream analysis, the findings, and so on. On top of the data sets that we actually collect routinely through the hospital systems, we also proudly to actually be able to collaborate with the Victorian Cancer Registry, which is also based at Cancer Council Victoria. So the registry, this registry is the only registry that is actually legislated in Victoria to collect all the cancer diagnosis across the whole state. So all cancer diagnosis will have to be reporting to them. So they have really a statewide data set, and obviously a lot of resources is used to actually quote the data to make sure that they're high quality. So that sort of collaboration really enable us to leverage the quality of the data that we're providing to researchers to ensure that they correctly interpret the research findings that they found. So to really move on improving the cancer. So as I mentioned, we do, because of that network biobanks, the biobank's nature, we managed to actually bank quite substantial amount of specimens, as you can see from this diagram, and it's across all kinds of different cancer types. So unlike most of what I'm aware of the single site biobank, that, you know, with the limited resources, that often you can only bank 1 or 2 types. So it's really limiting the how you can actually support different kind of researchers, or improve the equality of accessing specimens for different cancer types. So really emphasize the importance of the network. This is an overview about the clients or researchers that we're supporting within this map is mainly in Australia. So, and then you can see the blue one is the Victorian map. So most of, obviously with being based and supported by the Victorian government, so our majority of our clients are actually Victorian based, as you can see from the logo. So they're quite prominent research institutions, and also we do support a fair number of biotechnologies and pharmaceutical companies as well. So many of those researchers, especially in these few institutions, we have long-term agreements with them to actually supply specimen and also related services. So not only obviously Victoria or Australia that we're supporting, we do try to reach out to the international markets, understanding that biobanking is just such a high demand internationally. So with that sort of, we kind of a bit of a landmark in Melbourne or in Australia, that we're known to actually have this good research infrastructure to support them. So we're not supporting on an annual basis. We don't support many, but we do start to expand that a little bit bit by bit. So hopefully we'll be able to support or even collaborate or encourage the collaborations between the Victorian researchers and international researchers. So just a little bit of a governance. So obviously you'll probably be wanting to know how does that work as a network where each of them are actually coming from different institutions or hospital. How does that work? So our governance is basically forming with an agreement with Victorian Cancer Agency, which is the Victorian government, will fund the whole program. So coming to the Cancer Council Victoria to lead that whole program, and we sort of partner with the major hospital health precincts area. So then they will be providing collect the samples and so on. So we work all under the agreement, same agreement as a consortium to support the whole program. And all that's really set out, providing that one sort of harmonized structure. So everyone is in it and everyone is going to be sharing the resources, not just biased to one or two per research institutions. This is just a bit of a pictures of how we work. So I guess to an extent, the whole lockdown situations, I'm sure we're probably going to be the city that's going into the longest lockdown in the world very soon. So using the Teams or this sort of video conferencing has really, in a way, enabled us, because we always work remotely because we're scattering around, but we all work together to service a lot of projects that you could have seen. Every year we're talking about 70 odd to 80 projects per year. So really with that sort of networking, that's only be able to do so. So moving to that, I'm going into more generic talks about, that's really about the Victorian Cancer Biobanks as a whole, as a network biobanks itself. So why are network biobanks important than comparing to a single biobank? So as we all know, biospecimens are scarce and very expensive to procure. So we did an analysis 2 years ago. We found that just for Victorian Cancer Biobank to procure a specimen, say to procure a tissue specimen from a patient, all the way, so from the way to identify the resource to identify the case, consent the patients and stuff, it literally costs us about $400 to $500 to actually have one activity to be done. And imagine that. So imagine this way. If you have a scarce, if you have a rather sporadic collection, small collections, so you can't really reach to have a large cohort with such an expensive specimen. But however, very often that large cohorts are often needed to address big research questions rather than imagine specimens from say for a project that requires specimens from 900 donors or 900 participants. It may take years to be able for one single site biobank to recruit until you actually get to the point. So whereas another strategies could be accessing multiple biobanks, but then most of the researchers will totally understand and agree that accessing multiple biobanks, it can be a real challenge and a headache. means that you have to go through all the applications at the same time. Like, you know, if you're going through 5 biobanks like us, if it's not under the one single structure, you have to apply 5 times, and often that can be a pain. Also, having multiple specimens from multiple biobanks that is not harmonized or standardized in the procedures, you really get that very lack of standardizations that increase the likelihood of irreproducible results. And it has been reported that irreproducibility in the research result has cost the whole world 50 billion per year on trying to achieve that. Obviously, the biobank may not be fully contributing towards that, but what I see is biospecimens or a biobank is helping to provide the researchers is at the very beginning of all the research, research workflow, where if we don't have a good quality or consistent quality at the very beginning, it's just going to fall on to downstream. So that's very important that the network biobanks provide that sort of, firstly, the benefits is really to leverage the biobanking infrastructure. So everyone's sharing the same expertise. So with the lead agency, so we basically manage all these activities all together. So you don't have to have expertise at each site to do that. And with a very proper governance and all the agreements in place, we are able to actually provide a one-stop shop kind of concept to researchers to access that. So when researchers come to us, they only have to apply once for accessing through basically the Metropolitan Melbourne's biobanks. So they don't have to go through that every single time. So that sort of also in a way to encourage collaborative use of resources within the Victoria and also internationally as well. Harmonizations of IT system, as we all understand that, with the importance of clinical data and how fragmented all this data being captured, harmonizations of IT systems is another key thing that what we do here is the Victorian Cancer Biobank, or there is a consortium, we have only one single database that so all these sites will enter the data into there, and then we have a very standardized data sets that everyone's doing the same thing. So that really increased that sort of harmonized and standardized data provisions, including and also the specimens towards the researchers. So then researchers don't have to really try to interpret different data sets and so on. What I mentioned just now as well, yeah, the consortium really provide, or the network biobanks would really provide that sort of benefits of standardizations of procedures. So our SOPs are generally the same, so there won't be a sort of inconsistent. Lastly, as I mentioned, there will be a large cohort that are readily available. And because network biobanks, that our concept and our governance is actually open access. So anyone, as long as you have your project has been ethical review, you will be able to access the specimens or the services that we provide. Okay, so the next couple of slides, I'm just trying to use one of the things, like a comparison between us as a consortium and also another single biobank. How does that operate, and also what sort of a difference that you can actually see, that to really show you where how a consortium is benefiting, and also obviously what are the sort of a challenge that we will experience as a network biobanks as compared to a single biobank. So I wouldn't name that cancer biobank, but it's actually based on the annual reports that is being published on the public. So as you can see, we didn't compare, obviously, the biobank started later, but you can actually see that, within the same time frame, the number of specimens and the participants that we amass is actually quite significantly different. Although you may think that that's probably, that's one single biobank and we have 5 biobanks together. It's not that many, but from 2012 on, that we're actually going into what we call a supply and demand model. So since 2006, when Victorian Cancer Biobank was formed, for the 6 years time, we actually recruit more than 20,000 donors already, and then we move on because we have enough specimens that time to support research already. Then we move on to a supply and demand model to really focus on how we can actually utilize the specimens and service what researchers really need instead of just banking everything. Whereas a lot of new biobanks, obviously when you first set it up, you need to collect everything to have that sort of amount of that. So that in that comparison, we will actually have more. But as you can see, the way how we try to support, not just by providing the specimens that we have banked, but also the other research needs, such as prospectively collect some specimens that is not enough or the way that they need to, and also supporting clinical trial. So that really enabled us to be able to support, as you can see, within just one financial year, we're supporting 61 projects within that year, as comparing to a single biobank who has only ability to support probably 8 projects within that year. So similarly, as you can see, I mentioned before that we can support, we have a range of specimens that we collected, that cancer types, in terms of cancer types, as compared to a single cancer biobank can really only focus a few tumor streams. So everything comes with a price, of course, as I mentioned. So there was benefits, but also there are some challenges, and which is what we always been trying to work on with collaborations. Any kind of collaborations or coordinations, it does increase the expenses on coordination. So we need a lead agency like us to really be there. What we really do is make sure everyone is on par, standardized. So there's a lot of effort, as it's being managed centrally. There's additional resources required to make sure everyone is doing the same thing and achieving the bigger goal. So the second is very often this sort of collaborations relies on one big funding agency, because it's quite often coming from funders who think it needs to have this kind of concept to work to support a much bigger picture research than just institution-based research. So the last big challenge that we're experiencing as well is obviously the industry mindset. So I'm sure some of you may be experiencing is in a hospital, individual hospital, people are still finding that, why do I need to share these specimens to external researchers that has no benefits to our institutions? But where the sort of a concept of biobanking is moving towards that, creating a very important ecosystems for any researchers within the country or even within the world, is ultimately going to help the patients or any participants or the cancers in the future to improve. So it's no longer really trying to be a silo operations within its institutions to actually do, I'm just going to keep everything and do everything myself. So, but sort of educating the researchers, educating the industry people is one of the challenges that we will always face, and I'm sure everyone who is doing collaboration understand that. So one big thing really is to have this network biobanks requires strong support from funders or even to an extent the government. So we are funded by the Victorian government, of course, but there will need to be some sort of a government policies to really sort of comes up and say, well, the biobank should really be all network and have a more standardized structure to be providing and supporting the researchers' needs, rather than each individual having different ways of actually operating. Because yeah, that's only when you can only achieve that when this big picture role of biobanking is really needed, not just banking it for individual projects. So with that, I'm just gonna go through a few slides to use some sort of case studies of where within the Victorian Cancer Biobank, how as a network biobank we have been able to show an impact to some of the great groundbreaking research. So there are case studies to really showcase our contribution in enabling some of this very nice research, or very fabulous research. So the first case study is a group from WeHi. So WeHi is not sure how it's quite internationally recognized. It's one of the most prominent research institutes in Australia and also globally. Professor Jeff Limberman and his group these are researchers from WeHi, but he's also a clinician from Royal Melbourne Hospital under Melbourne Health. So he's wearing multiple hats. So we have a very nice close relationship because Jeff founded the BioBank at Royal Melbourne Hospital even before the VCB was formed back in the 90s, which later on then they actually joined the VCB and become a member of that, because he really acknowledged that his work in the research area has been really, because of BioBank, is sort of, make them be able to do a lot of things. So his focus is on basic science, translation, research, and also clinical trials in breast cancer. So we have been providing specimens for years on an ongoing agreements to him and his group to really support that throughout our whole network. So then resulting in many of the research around breast cancer, and there's a lot of collaborations across different institutions within Victoria, between him and them, with using all these specimens for all their research. So one highlight, I'm not going to go through because every year he will have like, I don't know, 10 to 20 publications just for the breast cancer research. I'm just going to pick one of those that is actually quite a nice one. It went on to media. It's actually a discovery of a combinatory, so it's trials that actually found that a combinatory drug, which is what tamoxifen is being quite common in as for breast cancer treatment. So they found that this combinatory drug treatment has actually improved the treatment efficacy of the metastatic breast cancer. So that's true, obviously biospecimen play a part of role on finding all this. And because of that findings, it went on to media release, and also it attracts some big pharma to actually start a larger cohort of a trial. So we're hoping to see these treatment strategies in near future, that comes in as actually a standard patient's care in the future to treat the patients soon. So this is really showing that the specimens that we've been supporting from years, that actually leads to something that will actually comes into the patient care in the future. Second cases are more around the specimen services that we're providing to support clinical trial. So every year in Australia, there's more than 1,000 clinical trial commence in Australia, and is growing rapidly, especially during the COVID period. So one key thing is the high quality biospecimens is really important for them to analyze the outcomes of the trial. So they do need a lot of that support, because quite often the trial coordinators are not some experts in biospecimen. So most of our sites, trial centers actually seek support from us. So we actually support quite a number of clinical trials in the space. So mainly on providing the biospecimen services so that their biospecimens are actually at high quality. And with this Austin Cancer Clinical Trial Center, which is one of our partners, where our partner sites is located, we have actually established a partnership with them to actually support all their trials that require biospecimen service. So what this means is really they're going to be, work on their expertise in focusing on coordinating the trials, where we back them up with the specimen workflow, which is where our specializations is. So this really does alleviate the quality of the specimens for those trials. So we're hoping this will indirectly, being supportive to them to actually attract more trials to that space. Currently, I think we're supporting them about 20 trials at least every year. And we're hoping, and some of them are actually the well-known pharmaceutical companies as well. So, and we're actually hoping to see more of this kind of partnerships we'll be able to roll out to the other sites as well. And then, to really attract more national and international trials. So the final studies is moving away from clinical trials back to translational research, where it's utilizing also our biospecimens. This case studies, unfortunately, I have to say I can't really show the company names and institutions' names, but it is actually I can just mention them as a company. So this case study really showcase how, as a biobank, we are able to actually witness a journey from an initial scientific discovery to actually a commercialization pipeline for a clinical diagnostic product. So this is this development is a simple blood test that is currently being developed by a Victorian biotech company to detect or screen colorectal cancer. So they're aiming to actually, with this product, if they'll be able to go into the clinical practice, that means that they can actually improve the cancer bowel screening program, which is using the FOBT that needed the stools for early detections of colorectal cancer. But because it's using stool to test that, many people doesn't like it. So with this simple blood test, hopefully that will sort of synergize that sort of detections of more colorectal cancer at earlier stage rather than late stage. So the whole discovery actually started from a national research institute, not actually with the biotech company, where our support really actually starts from the collaborations with that national research institute in Australia to work on basic science research to actually then discover this biomarker and develop them into the technology that was then bought over by the license was bought over by this biotech company, which is now also we are supporting by providing biospecimens to them to support that development of that. So the amount of specimens, as you can see, is a very long-term process that we have been providing. It's just so tremendous. For example, the first batch of specimens we provided to the biotech company, we're talking about specimens from 500 donors. That's only the first batch, where is, so this kind of amounts really can only be provided by a network of biobanks like us. So, and biotech often find it very difficult to obtain biospecimens as well. So hopefully these case studies will also provide you with a bit of an insight on how we can actually support cancer research in different ways relating to biospecimens as a network rather than just a single biobank. Again, these are all not rocket science, even in biobanking, but I think we really, a backbone of research, and also I often call ourselves like a quiet achiever to enable all this groundbreaking research as well. So with that, I think I've been taking a bit of time, sorry. I would like to sort of thank all the consortium members and also the funders and supporters, and of course the donors that has always been supporting us, and Victorian government is our key funder. Thanks very much.